Hello and welcome back to the Heritage Boatworks Podcast. This is episode number 5. This is the first and only podcast of its kind. We aim to explore, promote, and preserve boat building in New England. I travel the coastal towns of New England interviewing the folks that build boats in this historic region, and they all have a story to tell, and I'm here to share it. So, very excited to be back recording again. It's been about a month since I last recorded an episode, so on schedule. I'd love to be doing this more often, but not in the cards at the moment. I'd love it if you guys connected with me. I have a number of ways you can do that. I'm getting a ton of feedback, but I'm hoping to get some feedback in the right places. If you enjoy the show and you use iTunes, please hop on iTunes and give me a 5-star review. I have a shortage of 5-star reviews right now. I'm at the whopping number of 0, so I'd love to see some feedback there. Check out my blog. If you go to heritageboatworks.com and click on the HBW blog link, you can sign up there, and you'll get an email note whenever I add to that. I try to keep that pretty up to date. You can also see all of my podcast show notes and pictures. I encourage you to go back to the Graham McKay interview. I posted some pictures there, the whaleboat and everything else. That came out pretty nice. Again, go to heritageboatworks.com and click on the podcast link. That'll bring you to the podcast index that has all of the links to all the shows. You can also listen to the shows right on the website. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. You can go to facebook.com or twitter.com/heritageboatworks at the end of either one of those. And that'll bring you to my profiles. I'm also on YouTube. I'm switching up my YouTube account, so I'm not sure if that'll be updated by the time I post this, but I will get that up to date as well. Should be up to date in the next couple of days. So that's how you can connect with me. I'd love to hear from you. You can also go to the contact page and sign up for my monthly newsletter. I won't spam you or give away your email address to anybody. It's just informational, just a way for me to reach out to everybody once a month. I actually haven't sent out my first monthly newsletter. I'm waiting until I get to a certain number of subscribers before I start devoting some time to that. So that's about it. So please connect with me. So what happened with me this month? Well, we took the kids to Disney World, so that was kind of the big event this month. And just a huge fan of Disney World. It's completely exhausting and overwhelming, and I have 3 kids. They're 5, 7, and 1. So we took them all to Disney, and we completely overbooked ourselves for shows and dinners and everything else, and it was exhausting and chaotic and just absolutely a blast. Disney World's such a great place. They spare no expense there, and think of every little detail, which being a boat builder and a detail person, I appreciate all that stuff, and it's a lot of fun. So took some time to recover from that. As far as my cat boat goes, I'm building a Bolger Bobcat in my basement. Haven't started on the actual boat yet. I've been spending most of my time on the mast. I was able to find a Craftsman, an old school Craftsman 9-inch block plane at a yard sale for $10 or $20, I forget exactly, but it's just a beautiful piece of machinery that they made back in those days. Really having fun keeping that nice and sharp and taking off the corners of the mast, and it's really coming out nice. It's going to be beautiful. I cut the taper in it. It just needs to be rounded at this point. All the tapers are cut in. It's all 16-sided, and just needs a whole bunch of planing and a whole bunch of sanding. So once I finish that up, I'll start cutting out the pieces for the actual hull. Trying to decide whether I want to build a scarf jig or to just cut them by hand or with a sander. and a block plane. But I've seen some scarf jigs online that they use a circular saw for that looks like it makes it pretty easy to cut a decent scarf joint. So just kind of researching that and deciding what to do. If anybody out there has any experience with that, please send me a note. My email address is jed@heritageboatworks.com, so feel free to reach out to me at any time. So why don't we move right into the interview for this week, which was really, really a great interview in my opinion. It was just really nice touching base with Heidi again. I went down to Tiverton, Rhode Island, and met with Heidi Reid. She is the owner of Stur-Dee Boat Company down in Tiverton, and they build a handful of different boats. They have a dory or a semi-dory that comes in a variety of sizes, and a cat boat, and then a couple of dinghies that they make, and they hand make everything. They lay up all the glass themselves. The boats are just gorgeous. And Stur-Dee Boat over the years has definitely gone through some really challenging times, and Heidi got a little broken up here and there during the interview. She's just such a wonderful gal, and just kind of puts it all out there, wears her emotions on her sleeve, and it really makes you feel at home when you're talking to her. I have a long history with her. Back when I bought my first cat boat was a Stur-Dee cat boat. And I went right down to meet her after I had bought it because I wanted to meet the folks that had built it, and I needed some advice on a few things. And I had the pleasure of meeting her father, who was still alive at the time, Ernie Gavin, and he was kind of the forefather of Stur-Dee boats. So I had the pleasure of meeting him, which I feel very honored and privileged to have been able to do. And you can really see the connection in the family as I'm interviewing Heidi when she talks about her dad. A lot of love there, a lot of respect there, and it kind of broke me up a bit too. But it's a really great interview to hear the story of Stur-Dee Boat Company. And if you're thinking about a small cat boat, a small boat that's just really easy to sail, I'll vouch for the Stur-Dee cat. It's a fantastic boat. No affiliation there, just a big fan and a previous owner. So I'm going to let the interview speak for itself. I hope you all enjoy it. And I'll see you in a month or so. Thanks. Welcome to the interview. I am here in Tiverton, Rhode Island, sunny Tiverton, Rhode Island, at Stur-Dee Boat, and I am here with Heidi Reid. Yes, I can see
the turkeys.
Oh, there's turkeys out the window. Oh my goodness. I just stood up here and there's probably a dozen turkeys kind of eating all the birdseed out the window. Quite the scene. That's fantastic.
I just thought you should see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm here with Heidi. Heidi Reid is the owner of Stur-Dee Boat. And hi, Heidi. Thank you for your time today.
Glad you're here.
And I figured I'd give our listeners a little history of us.
Okay.
We've had a little history in the past. So if you go on to the About Us part of the webpage, it kind of goes through my boats that I've had over the years.
Right.
The first one was a Kells 22 sloop, which I don't even consider owning, really. It was just it was like a training vessel to train me on how to maintain a junky old boat. So I got rid of that boat, and I stumbled across a gentleman in Essex, Massachusetts that had, at the time, this was called a Stur-Dee cat boat, and I had no idea what it was, but it sounded interesting. I thought I'd go look at it because the price was within my budget. So I went out there, and he dry docked the boat. Well, not dry docked. I don't know what the method is for leaving your boat on the marsh. When the tide goes out, the boat sits there.
It's just called leaving your boat on the marsh.
So he would just leave his boat out there, and the tide would go out, and the boat would just sit there on the hard, basically. And the woodwork was all painted. So he had the nice mahogany benches painted with this brown paint. The nice oak combing was painted with white paint.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Because I could see there were some bare spots, and I could say, "Wow, there's wood under here. That's really pretty." his explanation was that he was more interested in sailing than he was in maintaining. So
that's understandable.
He loved the boat,
Sure.
and just wanted to go out on the boat. So he just threw coats of paint on here to go sailing. So I looked the boat over and debated with my wife and bought it. That was in October, so I had to sit and stare at the boat for a while over the winter. And I brought it to the Cape, and I remember no worries. I remember the first minute sailing that boat. I launched it. I was motoring over, which is a whole other story how I lost the motor.
I ought to be doing the interview.
Raised the sail up, and it immediately caught the wind and took off. And I called my wife at that moment and said, I'm not coming home for a while.
Yeah.
This
is too good.
Oh, I was madly in love with the Stur-Dee cat, the cat boat in general, just the whole simplicity of raising one sail and the big barn door rudder. And I was in love. So after that sailing, I immediately had to find out who built this boat. I have to research the builder. Went on the Stur-Dee boat website, and it said, come visit the operation or something in there.
Yeah, come visit us at the shop.
That was all I needed.
Yeah.
So I came out, and I was going to come out with the question of how to replace the combing and how to steam bend it in place.
Which you learned we don't do.
Which I learned you didn't do, yeah, very quickly.
Yep, just muscle.
Yep. So I asked Ernie about that when I got here. I was so happy that I got to meet Ernie, and he said, we don't steam bend anything, just screw it in place. Use a little muscle.
Push it in there and screw it down. Yep.
So you came out at that point, and you and I talked for, had to be an hour.
Yeah.
We talked about the boats, we talked about kids, we talked about a family business.
Yeah.
We had a fantastic conversation.
We did, too.
And I enjoyed that. And over the years, I've seen you here and there, boat shows, and
you're always around.
Yeah. I try to put my 2 cents in, trying to sell a couple boats for you.
Yeah, it's always good to have. I can always sit down for a minute when you show up.
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
I'll take over the operation for a little while.
Yeah,
you got to get one of these.
Yeah, that's our best bet right there.
Yeah. So Heidi and I have gone back quite a few years, and I have since moved on from my Stur-Dee. It was a sad day seeing that roll out of the driveway.
No, you'll be back.
I'll be back, absolutely.
I know
Absolutely.
you will.
Once the kids move on and don't want to sail anymore, I'm going back to a smaller boat.
Yeah.
So that's the history of Heidi and I, and it's been fantastic over the years.
I'm happy that we've met.
Yeah,
and we've established a relationship.
Absolutely,
it's been fun.
Absolutely. And now Heidi kind of stalks me on Facebook. And,
well, you stalk me at boat shows. I can stalk you on Facebook.
That's it's payback. Exactly.
It's safe anyway.
Exactly. So what I wanted to do with this interview was get a little history about you. A little history about your father and living with your father over the years and how Stur-Dee Boat came to be. Then I'd like to go through some of the boats. I know you guys offer, 4 boats now? Well, one of them in varying sizes.
Yeah. The dory is 3 sizes, 12, 14, and 16.
Yep.
2 dinghies.
Yep.
1.8, 1.10. And the cat boat.
The illustrious cat boat.
Illustrious cat boat.
I miss.
That started it all.
There are 2 cat boats out here in the shop that I will take pictures. They'll be on the blog that I'm salivating over. I may just have to.
They're beautiful. We'll make you one year. 1 year.
Yes.
We'll be waiting for you.
And then also some history about Stur-Dee. I know Stur-Dee's had quite the dramatic history with fires and losing some of the molds and
we lost everything.
We lost everything.
Yeah. The fire burned everything to the ground.
Oh.
There was nothing left when I got here.
That's awful.
December 12th, 1988.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It was leveled.
All right. Well, I definitely want to dive into that a bit more. But let's do this. Let's start with you and where how you came here. Where did you spend your youth and growing up with boats?
Well, I didn't grow up with boats, really.
Mm-hmm.
My parents had separated when I was young,
mm-hmm.
and so while I went to all of his baseball games,
mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up in the boats.
Okay.
My father built the wooden boats over the years, and, I was here and there, but I wasn't heavily involved in it.
Okay.
I was more involved in the ball games.
Right.
And that sort of thing, and going to ball games with him.
Now, what ball games?
We'd go and see the Red Sox in Boston, but he played the Sunset League in Little Compton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he played until he was about 46 or 48.
Great.
And at that point, he was playing the old-timers games.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
but he still did pretty well for himself.
Yeah.
But I came to the shop when I was about 17.
Okay.
I didn't quit school. I just never went back to school.
Right, right.
And he found out about it. And
Okay.
he put me to work on the cutting table, cutting fiberglass. With a saw, a table saw that would rest on, and I would have to cut anywhere from 6 to 8 boats at a time, stack them.
Yeah.
Just pull out the glass and stack it and put a pattern down, follow the pattern.
So he basically said, if you're not going to school, you're working.
You go to work.
Yeah.
Great. That was all.
Yep.
Oops, should have stayed in school. It was cleaner.
Right.
But I liked it. We were 3 buildings, a mold room. We had 20 guys.
Mm-hmm.
We were going concern. We were wholesale up and down the East Coast and into the Midwest.
Wow.
We had a storage room in the back. When a dealer would call, I would just go into the back room with his order, say 15 boats, and just start taking down serial numbers.
Okay.
We'd pull around the truck, get the 5th wheel, load them up, and Ernie would climb 3 boats high and start tying them all down. And we'd ship them out.
What were the boats you were selling most back
12,
then?
14s, and 16s, and the dinghies. The cat boats he sold out of here.
Right, okay.
Yeah, he kept that one for himself.
Yeah.
Although he would sell, here and there to a dealer. They'd take maybe 2 or 3, or somebody that was starting up a rental.
Right.
He'd sell to them.
Okay.
But it was amazing, the boats that went out of here.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And it was all dealers. We would still sell out the door to customers, but mostly it was dealers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you sell more to dealers now or more to people?
No, we don't sell to dealers at all anymore. After the fire, we didn't have any insurance.
Right.
So we became much smaller.
Yeah.
We had myself and my uncle and my father and a part-timer. That was it.
Okay.
Yeah. And at that time, Ernie got sick and he got older, and
Right.
he didn't care to do it anymore.
But he was still here every morning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Saturdays and Sundays too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's. Why don't we dive right into Ernie? What do you know? How much of Ernie's history do you know?
I know that I'm pretty sure he was born in Providence and grew up in Rhode Island, in Tiverton. Mm-hmm. Went to school when he was 16 or 17. He decided he was going to go get the Japs.
Yeah.
With all the other guys.
Right.
And he joined the Navy, Army. We went to fly planes.
Okay.
And he never saw action, but he traveled the country. He once lost a plane.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. He was on duty and he was supposed to be watching a plane, and they went to the bar instead, had a couple of beers, and they came back. The plane was gone. I just kind of remember that story. I don't remember the explanation as to what happened to the plane, but it was gone. And he'd chuckle every time he told me that.
He might not remember either.
He probably doesn't. Just like he didn't remember the tattoo, where he got the tattoo on his arm.
Right.
Didn't remember that.
Yeah.
But he did that, and then when he came out, he went to college on the GI Bill. Mm-hmm. Brown University, and as he would tell it, he went in the front door and out the back.
Right.
It wasn't for him.
Yeah.
Collegiate life wasn't for him.
Now, how did he go from where he was to boats? I mean, did he grow up with boats, or?
He didn't really
No.
grow up with boats. No, he didn't. He just started building boats in his backyard.
Right.
At his parents' house.
Yeah.
And then he got married. And built them in his backyard, and one sold, and then another one sold, and then he decided he thought he'd try it, see if he could do this for a living. And he had an engineering mind. He liked working with his hands.
Yeah.
So he bought this land here, and he put up a building that he had taken down the Cape.
Mm-hmm.
He put it up on footings, and he used to tell me, put a table saw in the middle of the building and say, what the hell am I going to do with all this room?
Right.
I got this saw, and I've got a little bit of lumber, I got nails and a hammer. What more I don't need all this room.
Yeah.
Before you knew it, we had 3 buildings and a mold room. So he did pretty
everywhere.
well with it, yeah. But that was wood, and he expanded. Excuse me. He put on another building. And then in the 1960s, the fiberglass revolution took place.
Right.
He didn't want to go into it.
Yeah.
He didn't want any part of it. And he finally went into it. And he was happy he did. He flipped over a wooden boat and made the plug, and then made the molds.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept the wood in the boats, of course, the oak and the mahogany seats.
Right.
But they just kept selling.
Yeah.
It was the same boat, but it was a lot lighter, a lot less maintenance.
Yeah.
So it was a big hit.
It's unfortunate, but it is true. It is true, because I'm a sucker for a beautiful wooden boat.
Yeah. Well, my father-in-law used to walk around here and shake his head For Christ's sake, if God wanted you to have fiberglass boats, he'd have planted fiberglass trees, he'd tell my father. He'd be giving him the finger the whole time. Because my father-in-law was a wooden boat builder in the backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
So how long before, because I know the first fiberglass catboat was around, I think 62 or 64.
Yeah, I want to say he was mid-60s, late 60s.
So a little late, but jumped around pretty quick, though.
Yeah, well, Edson Schott came to him and asked him to do the tool work.
Yeah.
And he produced a few, maybe 2 or 3 wooden cats, our cats, Stur-Dee cats. And
are those still around?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
I would love to see one of those.
They may very well be. They probably stood up better than the dories, the wooden dories, or the wooden Vikings. We used to build a Viking bass boat too.
Okay.
That boat up there.
Oh yeah.
We built that in 16, 20, and 22 feet.
What's it have for an engine in it? Is it gas?
I'm
or
not
diesel?
sure. It was before my time. It's all wood. We have a mold outside.
Huh.
That's a 20-footer. I'd like to build.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
This is also a picture of a smaller one.
Oh yeah.
Mahogany windshield, mahogany deck. That was an outboard. That one was made special for for a friend of Ernie's that was scalloping.
Okay.
And lobstering. But there's a few still around. But the sailboat ended up being, he wanted to do it in glass, and it was a big hit.
Right.
It's lightweight, Marconi rig, one sail. It's simple, and it was designed to be a classic cat with modern ability.
Right.
So,
in simplicity, it's like I say, the sailing that boat is.
Well, you took off in it that day, and you couldn't go home.
Oh, yeah,
it's just
so easy compared to what I had, which was the sloop with no lines let into the cockpit. So I had to go out and hank on the jib and put the mainsail on, and it was it took me like an hour to get out.
Yeah,
and,
a lot of work.
It's after your sailing day.
Yeah, a lot of work.
So yeah, absolutely. So, so I came out here. Geez, that must have been 2000, around there. 2000. I was going to say 15 years ago. So. Yeah. So the transition after Ernie passed. How did the transition go from there? I know it was. From our conversation, I know how tight your family is, and my wife has a business with her family, and it's the same thing. It's like they're pieces of a puzzle, and they just
everybody has a job. Everybody has something to do, and when that person can't do that, the other person can fill in or help out. But in this case, he had so much of it. He could do it all, and he did, and. When he wasn't there to do it anymore, I could do a lot of it, and he knew it. And when he was failing, he just kept saying to me, "Just do it. Yeah. You're doing it. What the hell's the problem?"
Yeah.
And tough and all. And okay, and then that's what I did. I just kept going, and I didn't think about it, and that was really the best way to go.
Yeah.
Because if I stopped and thought about it, I'd have been a basket case.
Forced you to learn the business too.
Yeah, and I did bookkeeping, and I paid the bills, and I did the taxes, and I did the payroll, and I did the customers, and the invoices, and the boat shows, and the building, and the painting, so you sort of realized when you stood back and you went, wait a minute, I do know how to do that. Yeah. Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh right. That's right. Maybe you hadn't done it in a little while.
Yeah.
But when he was gone, it was a big, it was really tough for me and Mackenzie.
Yeah. Now, Mackenzie's your daughter. How old was Mackenzie when she came in?
She was about 18.
Okay.
I'm sorry. She was about 16, 17. She was in school. She came in, and she asked him for an office job.
An office job.
She loved to play office as a kid.
Right.
And she and her friend would come in here, and they'd play calculator, and they'd be writing invoices and stuff.
Yeah. Just for our listeners, I'm sitting in the office right now, and it's basically kind of a plywood rectangle with an old laptop, very old laptop, a calculator. It's not exactly a production cubicle, I should say, at a corporate office scenario. So
far from it. Yeah. But Mackenzie came in and asked him for a job in the office, and he said, "Sure, honey." He took her out that door by the hand, right around the corner, and stuck a varnish brush in her hand. And I stood in the corner. I just laughed. I said, "Oh no, this is all over.
That's her office.
This is going to be too good." Yeah, there's your office, honey. And she wrote on the wall over here, on the other side, Mackenzie's corner.
Oh, nice.
And that's where she would do her varnishing and that. So she learned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but from me, she learned the office stuff too.
Right,
you know, she learned the boat shows, and she and I would move in and out of boat shows by ourselves. And you know, we learned it. She learned it through me, but I learned it through Ernie.
Yeah.
By doing it.
Yeah.
And
down.
You know, you skin your knees a few times and you keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And we did well together.
That's great.
Ernie was very proud of her.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of her.
Yeah.
But learning here is on-the-job training.
Right.
And sometimes it's not pretty learning on the job.
Yeah, I
remember one time I was flotating a boat.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was flotating a 14, but I thought I was flotating a 16.
And by flotating, what do you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mixing the liquid that we use as a flotation. So we have level flotation in the boat. We have to pour it into the liner cavity.
Okay.
And I mixed enough for a 16 and ran over to the boat, and it was a 14.
Yeah.
And my father stood there, shook his head, and laughed, because I'm pouring in the foam, and it's 89 degrees in here, and the foam's going all over the place, coming out of, and I'm running around trying not to make a mess. What a mess we had on our hands. And you learned you never did it again.
Right.
You never did it again.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he would say.
Mistakes like that tend to get very messy.
Yeah, and that's what he would say. You'll never do that again, will you?
Yeah.
Nope, I'm not going to do that again. That was a mess. So we went forward. Mackenzie and I worked. We were working 18-hour days, 6-7 days a week. Right. We had a lot of orders. My uncle left. That's sort of a something we don't talk about.
Okay.
But he left, and it was she and I. We had 4 boats to get out the door in 3 days.
It was just you two?
Mm-hmm. And we did it.
That's fantastic.
We did it, yeah. And we made some mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
But we were surviving.
Right.
We were trying to keep everything going.
Yeah.
And we didn't expect to lose him.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't expect him to leave. And it was a shock that way, but then you realize you got the business to run, and then there were some other things that kind of went along with other things and family and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn to stand on my own, virtually, because family went one way, and Mackenzie and I went the other.
Yeah.
We had a parting of the ways, so.
Yeah, it's tough. The family...
yeah.
The family business thing is tough. I know it doesn't... and like I said, I live it every day with my wife, and it's basically her and her sister, and then it's all boys from there on out. So there's constant complaints that my wife, not so eloquently, will say things like, if I was a guy, this wouldn't be this way.
Right.
So,
and I understand that.
Yes. Yeah.
I understand that.
The family stuff doesn't stop for the business, and the business stuff doesn't stop for the family. Even though there could be trouble in the family, the business is still ticking along.
That's
and
right.
needs it,
And anyone can and will tell you, when you come through that door, it's a business. Right. It's not mother and daughter. It's not family.
Absolutely.
How the hell can you do that?
Right.
The dynamics.
Yeah.
The dynamics are there, and you can't shut it off. You just can't. I don't believe you can. I couldn't. Mackenzie couldn't.
Yeah.
And the other parts that were going on, we just decided we wanted no part of, and it allowed us some freedom. Yeah. We walked away, and we kept building, and the boats sold themselves.
Right.
So all we needed was to build the boats. We didn't need.
Right.
And so we just went forward and continued to build. And we tried some minor changes with different things because we thought maybe they would work. They didn't. Mm-hmm. Did we have a couple of problems with it because of it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we tried it, and okay, so we just kept going forward.
Never know if you don't try.
Right. And we're better for it, and the boats are better for it, and they keep selling themselves. So
I've noticed there's been some changes to the boat itself with the wood floor and.
We do a lot more custom work. We do a lot more options now.
That's great.
What we're doing in the dory, people would go home and do.
Right.
Incorrectly.
Yeah.
And then 5-10 years down the road, they'd have problems with the boat, and we were seeing that.
Yeah.
So we began to think, why don't we do it for them or offer it?
Yeah.
And they sold.
Yeah,
so we can incorporate it into the build.
It's amazing how many boats evolve that way.
Yeah.
That a company will build a boat, send it out, And next thing you know, the boat will come back with a certain repair. And then another boat will come back with the same repair. And then you say, okay, we'll fix that from the beginning. So,
right. And if you were to build all of the options we have into the boat and offer it at the price where you made a profit, you wouldn't sell the boat.
Right.
I promise you.
Yeah.
Because they'll say, how much for a little 16-footer?
Yeah.
Never happen. But if you do it in an a la carte fashion,
Yep.
Here's your standard boat. You can have this, 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 and this. Or any custom work you want. If you don't see it there, we can do it for you. You have a happy customer.
Right.
They're picking and choosing.
Because they're building their boat. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And our woodwork has evolved as well.
Yeah.
Capping over the glass now.
Right.
It looks really finished.
Yeah.
It's a nice touch.
What do you mean by capping over the glass?
Well, the inside gunnel goes right over the fiberglass hull.
Right.
And then the outside gunnel meets it.
Okay.
So you don't see, it's not a sandwich in the effect where you're going to see the sandwich in the middle, like the ham in the middle. You won't see the glass sticking out.
Right.
It's just all wood.
Nice.
It's very pretty.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need one.
Yeah. We're waiting for the deposit. We want to build one for you. We want to build a couple for you, in fact.
Okay, so why don't we can hop back to the fire. 1988, a fire. Gutted the place. And you lost everything.
It burned right down to the ground. When Mackenzie and I got here, there was nothing here. There was a slab foundation. I shouldn't say there was a slab foundation for the front of the door, the doorway. But everything was leveled.
Yeah.
The big saw that you see down there was laying on its side. That's the only thing that survived. That's the only thing we have.
Okay, that big bandsaw down at the end?
Yeah. All the tools were gone. All the molds were gone. All the supplies, all the resins, everything.
And you didn't have insurance?
All the stock. No insurance. There had to be $50,000, $60,000 worth of boats in the back room.
Right. What a nightmare.
All the jigs from the old wooden boats, he had all of that.
Now,
that's all tough stuff to lose.
Yeah. How long and how did he recover? You and him. You and he.
We were sitting around the table that night I wasn't having a beer, but everybody was having a drink. Yeah. And I had tears coming down my face. My father had lost a layer of skin from the heat. My stepmother had been trapped inside. He had to break a window to get her out.
Wow.
We lost the dogs in the fire. That's why I never owned a dog again. But we were sitting at that table, and I had tears coming down my face, and I was looking at him, and I said, what are we going to do? He said, well, for Christ's sake, you're going to sit there or you're going to go back to work? And I thought, well, sitting here crying was making me feel a little bit better. I don't know. It was getting out something. I know it was cathartic.
Right.
And then when he said that, I thought, there's nothing we can do about it. We'll go back to work.
Right.
And we did. And he took his savings.
Yeah.
And, maybe he took a note or something. I think he borrowed a little bit of money from the bank, but he never liked to borrow money. Right. But he put up a building that year, the following year.
Wow.
89. He put up the building. We were back in business 6 months later.
Yeah.
Borrowing boats to make the molds.
And did he? Oh, okay. So you took old boats that you had made already.
Yeah, we took the glass boats and used them. Yeah. And the kind-hearted people let us borrow the boats.
Right.
And some people even, we built them a new boat.
Yeah.
Because we knew we were going to damage their boat.
Yeah.
So the promise was, to repay you, we'll build you a boat.
Yeah.
And he cut the molds. I remember his fingers. I remember the tips of his fingers being so worn.
Yeah.
They were just worn so badly, he'd bleed.
Yeah.
It'd seep.
Just working.
Yeah, and because you're in water sanding, and and it's cold, and he did all the wiring, he did all the lights, he scrapping here and scrapping there, finding places that were going out of business to buy a bandsaw, and then somebody broke in here, took all the tools he had bought, took the bandsaw that he had bought. My father-in-law gave him the bandsaw that's down there now.
Right.
He just kept going, and really, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
And that's what I love so much about that generation, I call it the World War II generation.
Absolutely.
They did what they had to do. There was no bull about it.
And you get knocked down, you get back up.
Yeah, nobody sat there and said, where's the government to help me through this? Where's my handout?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he did what he had to do, and he kept going. And he did well.
That's great.
Built it all back up again. The difference was that we only had 3 of us and a part-timer.
Right.
Because we had a smaller building, no mold room.
Yeah.
So we didn't have the production anymore.
Right.
So we didn't have the dealers, and we started just with the retail.
Right. Okay.
And that's where we are now.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm exhausted.
That's great. That's such a fantastic
I need
story.
a nap.
All right, well, we can talk about a little more lighthearted things. Tell me about the boats.
I'd be happy to.
So yeah, we can have a little your elevator pitch. What do you have for boats? And
well, we have.
Tell me about the construction, because I know Stur-Dee does construction a little differently. They lay it up themselves. They don't buy mold. They don't buy them pre-built or anything like that. So.
No, and Ernie liked to have his hand on everything.
Right.
And I always agreed, so there was no conflict there. Everything's built by hand. Mm-hmm. All of our molds are here. We own them. Yep. We built them. We maintain them. I have the bad back to prove it.
Yeah.
We build 12-foot, 16-foot dories all by hand. All of our dinghies are by hand. Our catboats by hand. It's hand-laid fiberglass.
Yep.
We know what we have in anything that we build.
Yep.
We use materials that maybe some people don't want to use, as plywood being in the transom, but when it's totally encapsulated in the glass and it's puttied in,
right.
I feel that we have a really great product at a better price.
Yep.
Now you can use chop a gun, you can infuse it, you can do all this other stuff, but cost-wise, we're okay.
So the boat I had was, like I say, it was a 1980, and this guy, when I found it, it was kind of tucked away in the bushes, no cover, and that's how it sat every winter. Mm-hmm. And in the summer, it sat in that marsh, and the water would go out. It would sit on the ground. And,
it can, because it's a solidly built boat.
This boat, when I got it, aside from replacing that woodwork because I wanted it varnished, that was really the only reason, the rub rails had some rot on them because they were untreated. The rest of the boat was hard as a rock. Yeah. It was hard as a rock, and I didn't have to do anything as far as repairs go. I was more doing cosmetic
aesthetically,
things.
You wanted it to be pleasing, and I can understand that, and that's how it started out.
So that boat was 20-something years old, and
you can't kill fiberglass.
Didn't have a problem. Yeah,
you can start to have a problem with fiberglass when you put gel coat in a mold, and then you lay the glass, the resin in the glass and so forth, and you build up your structure. That gel coat is there to protect the resin and the mat from water permeating the surface.
Yep.
But you can wear that down enough that you get into that mat.
One side of my Stur-Dee cat was worn down, but it wasn't far enough that it was going to cause any damage.
Okay,
it was where they put it against the dock. One of the fenders must have rubbed against it, so you could kind of see a checker a little bit where the red.
It takes a little bit to take it off of there.
So, years. It must have been years and years.
It does take years. It does. And as long as you have a good thickness of your gel coat, and I think probably back in 1980 the boat was more overbuilt than it is today.
Right.
I think we've refined it. I would say probably we've always stayed at the same weight, which is good.
Yep.
But it's the materials you use, how you apply them.
Right.
Let's not saturate. Instead of using 10 gallons of resin, let's use 6 gallons of resin.
Right.
And still make the structure strong.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Well, the materials have come so far.
They have
over the years that you get away. You get more with less. At this point.
You do.
Okay. So who designs the boats? I know Edson Schock designed the cat boat.
Yeah. And as far as the dories, Jed, I really can't answer that question.
Okay.
I don't know if Ernie went into a dory book. Let's say like Gardner has a dory book.
Right.
If he went in there and said, "Oh, Jed, I like that design," and lofted it, I don't know that.
Yeah.
It had to come from somewhere.
Right.
But I don't know where.
Yeah.
And he wondered after a few years why he named it the Amesbury Dory.
Right.
Why did he name it the Sakonnet Dory? We're at the Sakonnet River.
Right.
And of course was a little late for that.
Yeah.
So it stayed the Amesbury Dory, which is of course where the original boats were built how many years ago.
Right.
But that picture on the wall up there, that drawing, is a friend's rendering or his father's rendering of the of the dory, the true dory.
Right.
And that what we have is really a semi dory.
Yep.
With the transom allowing for a motor.
Almost like a skip.
Right. But I don't know. I can't say designed by Ernie Gavin. I don't know where it came from.
It's tough with boat designs too, because maybe he started out designing it from somebody's design, and then changed a bunch of the angles, and now it's.
And maybe he saw something, like you say, and he liked part of it, but not another part of it. Blended something and added. Yeah. You don't know.
You never know. Yeah.
But it is the standard dory.
Yep.
The lap strake design, which is very stable with a hard shine.
Yep.
Yeah.
How about the dinghies?
The dinghies too. Well, I believe the Harbor Master was originally designed by Bolger.
Okay.
But I think it was another design as far as the sides go. I think it was born as a rescue boat.
Okay.
and that might not be the right term I want, rescue, but
I know what you mean.
Or survival type of boat. I think on the sides, this might be typical of Bolger too.
Yeah.
He had buoys in there. He had flotation devices in there.
Okay.
And then after a while, I guess, I vaguely remember, I think he got away from it and then just put a lap strake in there instead. Okay. But that's been a very good boat for us too.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
And the 10-footer, anybody's guess.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was just a little wooden 10-foot skiff.
There's hundreds and hundreds of those designs.
Yeah.
The one I built happened to be a Bolger, but I remember when I built that, I was looking for designs on it. They were like a dime a dozen you could get them, and they were pretty much all the same.
Yeah. Somebody's name attached to it, each
exactly,
one. Yeah,
exactly.
So it's hard to say.
Yeah.
And I'm curious too. When he built the Viking bass boats, where did that come from?
Right.
So I don't know that.
Yeah, in this day and age with the internet, it's so readily available. We could look right now and find 40 plans for a boat just like it. Back then, he had to go to the library and look through boat books and probably compiled a number of designs he liked and made his own tweaks to it or something.
And I'm pretty sure that's what he did. I'm pretty sure he would have looked at it to find what he thought was the best, what he liked also.
Right.
And then, like you say, he tweaked it.
Yeah.
But you could do that then.
That's great. Let's see. We have one other thing I wanted to go through. What are the plans for Stur-Dee Boat in the future?
The plans are to keep going.
Yeah.
To keep building. Yeah.
We got at least until I get mine.
Well, at least. We have to make sure that we're there for you, Jed. Above all else. Yeah. We did come out with a center console for the 16.
Okay.
We offer the side console.
Yep.
But we had a center console, which I liked the idea.
Yep.
People have asked for it. I liked the idea, but I didn't like how we did it with a seat in the front because it didn't follow the bow, the line of the boat.
Okay.
So we cut off the seat in the front. And what I'd like to do, we've had good success with it as far as the introduction of it. We haven't sold it yet.
Right.
That's okay. We have to show it and get it out there. But I'd like to try an 18.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to try an 18. The same boat, the same hull, the same everything. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
I would like to have a little bit of a semi-V.
Yeah.
I'd like it to enter the water.
Right.
But then flatten out a little bit.
Yeah.
And keep it simple to keep the cost down.
Right.
And a fiberglass deck would be nice.
Okay.
Instead of wood.
Yeah.
Not instead of, but as an option to wood.
Right.
A fiberglass deck that we can just drop on.
Okay.
Maybe 4 inches wide on the sides.
Okay. Yeah.
Some people don't want the wood.
It's like a leaning space type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Don't take up a lot of room on the side.
Yeah.
And an 18-foot cat boat would be nice.
Yep. With a little cabin?
Yeah. Actually, Ernie had the designs done by Bruce Kirby.
Okay.
He did the lines, and that's when we burned down. So we never got to it.
Right.
So, because if they're not buying it from us, they're buying it from someone else.
And does Bruce have copies of that? Is Bruce still around?
Bruce is.
Yeah.
I've asked him about it, but he couldn't put his hands on it. It never was done, so I suppose he didn't really.
Probably just drew it up on a cocktail napkin or something.
Yeah, which was good enough for Ernie, by the way.
Right, yeah.
But so an 18 would be nice, and I'd like to try a 20-footer.
Yeah.
With a deck and a windshield, the 2 seats.
At the dory.
An outboard, a Viking.
Oh, like a Viking. Okay.
A Viking.
Yeah.
Semi-V. But you say that, and you're looking at the calendar. You're saying, everything in my life now is timed. Everything I look at goes back to 2007, May 31st, when Ernie died.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at now 6 years.
Yeah.
And I've just been pedaling real fast.
Yeah, right. Just keeping up.
And trying to keep up, yeah. And there's so much to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it. But, so when will you get there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's time.
But we're still here.
It's just a time thing, yeah,
Fact is, we're still here.
Right.
So, that's good. And I have Steve. Steve's wonderful. Mm-hmm. He's a wonderful builder. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Hard worker. I believe he's the talent that can do that.
Nice.
And this is what we've needed.
Right.
So, I overwhelm him at times, though, with all these things that come out of my head. I'm do this, I'm going to do that. Let's try this. Let's try that. Look at this. Look what I just found. We can do this. And he takes it with a grain of salt. And so maybe it's another 6 years. Maybe it's another 10 years.
Yeah.
Little bits here and there. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just from speaking to him, he seemed ambitious as well. So that's huge.
And he's young enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about the youth these days.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's really all I have, and this has been an amazing.
Now
interview.
I should ask you.
Amazing. Yes, ask me.
What's new on your plate? What do you see for your future in your
blog, what do I see?
In your new website?
Well,
Come
that's
on,
a great
you should tell
question.
people a little bit about it.
Well, I work my day job. I've got to support my wife and 3 kids. My wife also supports me.
This is true. That's what we're there for.
Yep. This is more, at this point, I don't really know. I guess if I was thinking out loud about where I'd like this to be a year from now, 2 years from now, I'd love to do this all the time. I'd love to just travel around and talk to boat folks. And I stalk you at the boat shows.
I know you do, and you're a natural with it, though.
Yeah.
And if you do something like that, but one thing leads to another. You have to have that platform. You have to have that 40 hours.
Correct.
To allow for the rest of it.
Yes. So at this point right now, and it'll probably build up more in the summer because I'll be on the Cape in the summer.
It's more active.
And I can just
Oh my God, there'll be no living with you.
Yeah.
Your wife will be saying, go boating. Go, honey, go.
I'll be doing interviews
do
on my
boat.
And,
you'll be stalking people in your boat, sailing from boat to boat. You'll have those big bullhorns. Slow down, I need to talk to you.
Yeah, you want to talk?
They'll be paddling away from you.
So I would say that I'd like to just do this as I'm doing it right now because that's really all that time allows. I've got to dedicate my brain to my other job because that's where the bacon is, so to speak.
Right.
But this is a fantastic side gig at the time. It gives me an excuse to come talk to you guys.
That's right.
Like if I just drove out here right now and said, Heidi, I just want to have a really long conversation.
No, sorry, I got to go to work.
Like, what are you talking about?
This is my 40 hours.
But
this is my bacon.
Yeah, exactly. Now I can say, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast. It's going to get your name out there.
That's right.
People will hear about the story behind Stur-Dee. So it gives me an excuse to come talk to people.
Yeah, and hone your skills as well.
Exactly.
And you have a nice site. You have a nice thing going. So congratulations with it and good luck with it.
Thank you
Break
so
a
much.
leg.
And thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure. It's always good to see you. And thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, well that wraps up our interview with Heidi Reid of Stur-Dee Boat Company in Tiverton, Rhode Island. Thank you, Heidi, so much for your time. I really enjoyed it, and I'd like to make it more often, come down and visit you folks. If you want more information on Stur-Dee boats, you can go to their website. It's www.stur-dee.com. So sturdyboat.com with a hyphen in there. Again, beautiful boats, great family. I really encourage you to take a look at their stuff. And be sure to check out the show notes, and there are some pictures there of the shop and some of the boats they're working on. And let me know what you think. Thanks so much for coming, and I'll see you in a month.